Hey guys, it's Evan with Underhill Bonsai, and welcome back to our video series of Bonsai 101 and so on. I believe this would be Bonsai 108 or 9. Not really counting anymore at this point, to be honest. So I would just call these the Bonsai 101 series videos. So today I'm going to be talking about this, let's see, what would I consider it? Yeah, informal upright style bald cypress bonsai here. Give you guys some back history on it and then talk about some refinement techniques that we can do on this tree, because I have another video in the past where I took a tree that was ready for the next stage of setting up the branching and the pads like this tree has here. But yeah, there's a lot more to this that I will go into some greater detail and some more technical information about bald cypresses, so we can really up our game with these trees and this species. But before I get to that, I want to mention a couple of things, a couple of announcements. So Say Bonsai 2025 was 3 weeks from this week of the time of this was recorded. So March 28th, 29th, and the 30th of this year. Just wanted to say thank you to everyone that showed up and participated in that. If you're watching this video, I did talk to a couple of people that said they have watched my videos in the past, and they came because they saw my videos. You know, that's really awesome. If you guys have listened to my podcast show, Little Things for Bonsai People, and came because you heard the show and you liked hearing me, Mike, and Carmen talk, thank you as well. So we got a lot of really good feedback, a lot of good response from all of our platforms. We were able to pull people together and have a really good bonsai show. So yeah, we had a great turnout. I think we estimated somewhere around 100 to 200 people per day. So we had 3 days of bonsai fun out here. We did have our crawfish, we had jambalaya, we had gumbo, we had a guy that was doing tacos that's local to here as well that were excellent. We had over 50. I think we had basically my goal in bonsai trees on display. I think we almost had 60 trees. I haven't gotten a count back from Jessica Broom. Jessica Broom is our photographer. She will be putting together our commemorative book for Say Bonsai. She has done it in the past as well. So, but yeah, just lots and lots of good feedback, lots of good vibes on that weekend. So thank you guys so much for participating if you did. And we're looking forward to doing next year's as well. So an announcement for next year, we do have our headliners for next year. We're going to bring back Carmen Leskoviansky, not just as a Little Things podcast crew person, but we're also bringing her back as one of our main headliners. And then we're also bringing on another person in her bonsai family, also trained by Michael Hagedorn. We're bringing on John Eads from Left Coast Bonsai. So two really good professionals headlining next year's show, and we're also going to bring back Mike Lane so we can have the live recording again for the podcast, and then we're going to do demos and workshops centered around our professionals and also our Little Things group. So if you guys are into that, just keep an eye out for next year's announcement. We'll be making a website as opposed to just having to navigate our website on underhill.com. You can go over to, I'm hoping for saybonsai.com or something like that, so it's a little bit easier to navigate. Okay, so I always like to go in and try to answer questions that I see pop up on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, and this one is from TikTok. Just to kind of grab this question and kind of answer it real quick for this person. I was just gifted my first bonsai and I'm not sure how to water it. The internet is giving me mixed answers, as it always does. Most sources say water when the soil feels dry, but the soil is completely covered with thick moss. I can't tell if it's dried enough between waterings, if someone could help. And it looks like she has a response on here. I'll kind of give my own response. So yes, the internet is a confusing place. So everything that you read online about bonsai trees, take it as a grain of salt, because, or a grain of sand, however that terminology is supposed to go. But yeah, like there might be someone telling, for instance, like bald cypresses. I might be telling you how to water this tree, and I live in Southeast Louisiana, where somebody might have a bald cypress and this is very common. There might be someone in Australia. Believe it or not, people in Australia are able to grow these from seed and then grow them out to nearly this large and actually make bonsai out of them as well, even though they're not native. So these two people, me and the guy from Australia, or lady, will give you mixed responses on how to care for a tree like this. For your first tree, I think what's going on with the person who's having this issue as well is that not only they got their first tree, but they don't have the right beginner knowledge just yet. So a lot of sources will tell you that you can keep your tree indoors, or they'll tell you to let it dry out completely or water it once a week. The best way to answer that question, how to water, is to basically fill the first roughly 1/4 inch on the soil line to see if there's any moisture. This tree is a little dry, but I know it just got watered. The soil's mounted up here, but usually I go down right on the line of the rim and see how the soil is kind of sticking to my fingers a little bit. That tells me that there's moisture in the soil. And it's darker colored down in here, this looks like a piece of pine bark is really dark and it's almost black. And then there's pieces of pine bark on the top here that are almost white grayish colored. So that is an indicator that your tree needs to be watered if it's starting to look more dry on that next layer, about 1/4 or 1/2 inch. It also really depends on how deep the pot is. If the pot's only about 1 inch deep, you probably should be watering a tree like every single day, because it's going to drink that water and you want to just be on the safe side and water every day. Keep your tree outside, keep it in indirect sunlight if it's a small tree. If it's a larger tree and it can take more light, bald cypresses can take light all day. Junipers can take light all day. Most elm species can take a lot of light. Just gauge in what species you have, keep it outside, water it daily. So that's my beginner question of the month, because these videos come out monthly. Yes. So I wanted to talk about this tree, and I wanted to go over a little bit about its history, and I wanted to revisit a comment that was made on a video that I made with another bald cypress a couple of months back. And I brought up like a rating system, and it seemed like the person that commented on there, they were like, it seems a little crude to judge a tree based off of those things. They also referred to the tree, or maybe it was a different comment. I'm not sure. I don't like to go in there and loud cat people and call out names or do that kind of thing. But it was either that same comment or one similar to it where it said that this is a conicular shape. And I will kind of go into both of those things a little bit here with this tree. I agree and disagree that this is a bald cypress style. It's also a coastal redwood style. My nice air quote thing, just so you guys get across the fact that that's not what I believe in. But I think that old bald cypresses can and will grow this way. So that's one of the things we have to kind of think about here, is that when we're creating bonsai and we're making trees look old or ancient is the goal, then we want to take a tree and make it appear as if it's the older counterpart of the larger version of this tree. So some of the key points to know about that is age is going to be kind of shown through the trunk, the rooting, the nabari, which, let's use the terminology there, nabari, surface roots, the takagari, which is the distance between those surface roots and the first branch, which this is our first branch on this tree. And then we're going to go up, and the age is also going to be shown in negative space and the maturity or thickness of the branches that precede the first branch and up. Notice I didn't say like the density, like how many branches, how thick, how big, how wide the crown is, the silhouette. None of that matters. What matters is that we're representing the species properly for showing that ancient look. So bald cypresses grow in many, many different ways. And so this is just one example. In Southeast Louisiana, I have seen a tree that looks like this. Not like as laid out, obviously. This is very, by the book, like there's a first branch, there's a back branch here, there's a second branch here, and so on and so forth. And there was a conversation that we had during, say, Bonsai, me and the group of professionals that we had that came in from out of town to work the show, and there was a lot of back and forth about what the Japanese model is and what the bonsai guidelines of John Naka were. So it was a little bit of a heated conversation, but these types of conversations are necessary for advancement and also for learning. I mean, even as a bonsai professional or a grower like myself, I still need to learn. I still need to kind of go in and, I guess, not relearn, but add on continued education of what we're doing here. And so we're getting to this point now where there's enough information out there about what a bonsai should look like and what we should expect the tree to look like as it ages. I know a lot of people will go off of the Janaka layout, but in my personal opinion and my experiences so far, this is a John Naka layout. Like, this is how he would have this tree designed. But from there, you get the age of the tree from the, it's kind of like a good foundation and a base, and then you just go with what the tree does as it ages. And if that first branch becomes too weak or doesn't really feel right for the tree anymore, and there's another branch that feels better, then we'll replace it with another branch or make it into deadwood, or maybe the top doesn't work anymore and that becomes deadwood. Just to reference somebody else really quick before I start doing some work here, and we go on to the rating system conversation here of this tree and its history. If you guys go over to Facebook, this is the best way to find his stuff. David DeGroot, he's one of my favorite bonsai people. He was the curator of the Pacific Bonsai Museum. He used to live in New Orleans. He styled a lot of bald cypresses when he was here. He has a couple in his personal collection, and he lives in Portland currently. He has a bald cypress that has the same conical shape to it, and he has chosen over time to make the top dead and start bringing the crown down to more symbolize an aging older tree that's kind of approaching its advancement in age. It's becoming older and more believable what the species would look like. So, you know, I'm gonna have to evaluate this tree as like time goes on, as development goes on. So go over to David's Facebook. That's the best place to see pictures of his trees right now. And scroll down and scroll down. He's not very good at cataloging these things. They're just there. He shares them as they happen. But look for his bald cypresses. He's got some great work on there. And some of my designs are inspired by his work. So you get a good 360 all the way around to kind of show you guys what the layout is here. And I'm just going to spin it here so you guys can go see what's going on in the back as well. And I can kind of talk about the history of this tree and what's happened here. So this tree was originally collected by Ken Oster. He is a local bonsai guy, patron of the nursery. He really likes coming up in here on the weekends, and he'll work on trees with me. He has really beautiful trees of his own, and this was one of his trees. And so whenever I got this tree from him, it was actually a lot taller and it was a lot wider. And that's where you see these big scars like this one. There's a scar in here. And some of these lower branches have the nubs of what used to be big giant branches growing out the sides of this tree. And so when I got it from him, it was in a baby pool, like a plastic blue baby pool you get from like the dollar store. It had none of its roots were worked. So this is the original root system that he collected. I don't know where he collected it from. He lives on the other side of Lake Pontchartrain from me, so he probably collected it near the swamps over there. But I believe he collected this tree nearly 10 years ago. And he actually went in, and where this first branch is, it's a little easier to see on the back here. He carved it right here. And so you guys have seen my carving videos where I've gone in and gave trees taper to get them from that bulky stump look to this more tapered and older, mature look where it's fat and then it gets skinnier up top. Unfortunately, the taper was carved into it the other direction. Instead of doing what I recommend with the convex, he went concave and it rotted out a little bit and actually compressed in. He did seal it. I can tell because see how the grain of the wound wood goes in and it actually healed over. That's a big wound. I mean, that's probably somewhere in the vicinity of like 5 inches across. And I mean, it's completely healed over. That's beautiful. That's very rare for a tree this size. And then there's another scar right here. It's probably difficult to see, but there's a scar here where it was grown to this length and it was cut again, and then the top of the tree was grown here. And there's a scar where I just recently cut it right there, and then it was cut again up in here. So yeah, so this tree, if I had to guess, when it, at the time it was collected, the tree was probably somewhere around 15 to 20 years old as a full-grown tree, and then it was cut down and then carved and then grown again. And then I went in and I reset everything. So basically I cut everything off the tree. I stripped it bare to like, basically you just had this stump again with the tapered carved and everything. And then some of the branches that I kept were original to what Ken had grown out. And the most unique one that I kept is right here. And this piece of bamboo right here that's sticking out the back, that is where I cut the branch with a saw. And the base of the branch was almost sticking up vertically from the trunk, and I wanted to really save it just for the sake of having not to grow another mature looking branch, and it was just in a good spot and I wanted to keep it. I actually cut the branch away from the trunk with a saw and put a bamboo wedge in this area here and brought it out. Like I hammered it in there like a nail, and it separated the branch from the trunk like this, and then the angle of the branch coming out of the trunk changed. And bald cypresses are really, really good at healing scars. Obviously from this tree you can see that here, and that's going to look, in a couple of years you won't even know that happened. It'll just heal itself over right there, and it'll actually be a really interesting little zone right there for an old scar. So, and then this past year, I think in January of this past year, I went through, no, not January, I'm sorry, back up a little bit, December, around that time when it was cold last year, I went in and I completely wired the tree out. So that's where we got this nice dropping branch. We got these branches all wired down, and there was some adjustments made in the top here. So now, for the next step of this, I need to kind of judge the quality of this tree real quick. And I want to just go through that really, just kind of, I don't want to take my time with it too much because I want to get working on the tree. But one of the things to talk about here when I said that we're judging the number, so the base of this is actually very nice, much nicer than the other bald cypress that I was talking about in the previous video. There's only a few roots that stand up and come out the sides, like these tube roots back here, and there's actually this one awkward root here. But overall, where I've got the front presented, this is really nice. The only thing that I say, and I have to say this because I'm always going to be looking to improve these trees. This tree will be at Underhill for a long time. This is a private collection tree of the nurseries. We'll have this tree for many, many years to come. So there's gonna be opportunities to do these things. This right here, this crossing root, this big chunky thing, this whole piece here, I can feel underneath there. Actually, you can probably, yeah, my scissor comes out the other side here. During the next repot, I will cut this completely off and go into this. It'll clean this up. It'll get this root off the side of the wall of the pot here, and I'll just get rid of some of these ugly, dangly things that are existing down here. I might even just gin it and then make a hollow right there. Another thing to do is to hollow this slightly and give this some more interest, because in this straight section of the trunk, it really bothers me. It needs a hole or a gin or uro. Uro is a deadwood hole in a tree, and like an owl hole is what they call it sometimes, just to improve the taper and character there. So Nabari is great, trunk's pretty decent. This is a little unfortunate, but from the front, from the right angle, it makes up with it, being like this almost feels like movement. It almost goes inverse taper, but it's got these old knobs on here. Mind the knobs. This is what old bald cypresses look like. I tend to leave these on there and let them heal over all rough, because old burrows on old cypresses actually look like that. So you'll see these all over the trees that I style, and then I maintain them like that. And I don't try to hollow those in. So I would say this tree has like a slim chance of becoming like a light 7 out of 10 for me, because there's a lot of good branches here. There's a good trunk here. The scars are mostly healed. We got a couple of things where, like I said, that need to kind of get better with time and age like wine. But other than that, I think it's a fine tree. And don't think that because I'm scoring this tree mid doesn't mean that it's not going to be a good tree. You know, really, really great trees can be built on mediocre bases, and then really crappy trees can be built on amazing bases. It just depends on the artist and who's maintaining it. I'm not going to go much further. I don't want to sound like a prick. So let's go ahead and start talking about a few things on this stage. So for reference, this is late April. Well, at the time that this would come out would be the next month. So this is actually mid-April or whatever. mid-spring, I guess you can say. There's still some cold mornings coming through. This is first flush. So all this growth that came out here, this is brand new on the tree from winter. So now it's time to go in and start making some quick edits and start thinning and maybe even wire a few pieces to kind of join in with the rest of the refinement stage that the tree's in right now. So first thing that I always do with bald cypresses is I always look for branches that I call like crotch branches or pocket branches. So stuff that's growing on the inside of the curves of my branches that are really valuable to me, like this first branch. I usually want to take stuff like that out. And then I want to see where everything else is emerging. This is fine. I don't mind that coming off. But sometimes you'll have branches that emerge right at the base of these older branches. And what happens, the best way I can explain it, is that when you bend a bald cypress branch with heavy wire and you start positioning it, what tends to happen is the tree kind of treats that as if it were broken. And then the tree's first thing that it's going to try to do naturally is it's going to try to recover that branch. It's going to grow a new branch in the place of the one that was broken, and it will weaken this branch. So I don't want it to weaken the branch, so I usually cut the basal branches off. So there's a couple of them on the inside of the curve here, and then just some awkward ones that are in a place like that. And then let's see, and these guys here, this is just a cluster of new growth that is trying to come back where there wasn't a branch here last year, but there were remnants. There was remnants of like, there was two nubs. There's one right here too. These were just branches at one point. And there's a couple down here. Bald cypresses will bud anywhere and everywhere on their trunk. Doesn't matter how old the tree is, doesn't matter, you know, where the branches on the tree are. It's always trying to fill in and get as much photosynthetic material out there as possible. So this is a con. There's the pros and the cons of this tree. This is just not a bad thing, but it's easy to take care of. Just go in there and just rub them off, you know, like that. Just take them off. If they extend out and they get out of hand, that's not a big deal if it swells out. If you're trying to get more of these bumpy old burrow looks to the tree, then you can let them run and you can let them get some character to it like that. And it doesn't hurt to let stuff like that every once in a while run. And on my older trees in my own collection at my house, believe it or not, I have more trees at my home that I maintain, but I actually allow leaves to hang out on the trunks of those trees sometimes, depending on the style or the environment that I'm trying to suggest with the tree. Okay, so going in and just clearing out the first branch. This is the most important branch in the whole tree. I will go in and shorten. Actually, I'll get that one back. There's a bud on the very end of that. I know it seems tedious, but every count cuts. Every cut counts, sorry. But yeah, I'll go in and cut things back. And then what I'm gonna do here is I'm actually going to shorten up, and even the leaves can be taken out and pinched out of here. And I can choose an alternating pattern. So back and forth, back and forth. This leaf is going the wrong way. Back and forth on the inside of the curve. And then I'll leave the ones that come up and out like that to kind of build that structure where I'm looking for this, like coming up the branch. And this one, the reason why I like this tree so much is because it has that already happening here. So what I have to do is go in and make sure I thin the branch out just enough so that I can keep those alternating leaves, but I can keep some of the density there as well. And then like this one here, one of the best things that I can do with these leaves that are getting a little long, and this is not a secret, it's just something that a lot of people don't talk about in bald cypress a lot, and I haven't seen put to good practice, is leaf pinching. So you go in and you pull the ends of the leaves off. And this is a really oversized leaf, so against the backdrop of the white here, you can see the leaf is coming up and then it comes to the tip here. You see the bunch of leaves right there. I call it a leaf, and then it's a compound leaf in a way because it grows like a conifer. That end right there can be pinched out, and then this will actually bud back the leaf itself. And you can build finer, little tinier leaves on there by doing that. So you can even cut them if you want to. I mean, cypresses, bald cypress in general, they're just such a versatile species, and I think people are not using them to their fullest extent and advancing their designs with them. I mean, there's so much more that could be done with these trees. And you know, I want to challenge more people to go in and try to elevate the way this species is cared for, how they're refined. That's a young shoot. I want to keep that on there. So I'm actually not going to pinch that growth or bring it back. But I do want to get in spaces where it looks like it's getting a little too dense. Get some light in there between the pads. See how that's getting a little more cleaned up. Get the leaves that are hanging straight down. That's actually coming out of a good spot. And here's something else I can show you guys too. Another one. Might be hard to see, but what's important here is that this is a stem that just elongated, and then there's the end. That is the terminal bud. So that's the most powerful bud on the entire branch or shoot. This color right here, that kind of darker, kind of purpley look, that means that that branch is viable and it's ready to be, you can actually cut it back, and then these will extend, and you can keep that little twig, this twig-like branch on this tree for the rest of the year and possibly into the next year if it doesn't get any dieback issues. So that changing from a little slightly chlorotic right back here, you need to get more sunlight on the back side of the tree. But that change from light green to darker purpley color is what we're looking for before we can actually cut a branch back on a bald cypress. Yeah, this like pale kind of colored here of these pieces that are back here, this is because the tree where it sits outside in our display area, this gets hit by sunlight for a long period of time, and then the back side here, you see it's a little lighter. So what's gonna happen is I'm gonna have to bring this tree back outside, and then, that's on the inside of a curve. I'm gonna have to bring it out and actually put it into the sunlight. I'll probably find a spot out in our really sunny area of our display area and put it there so we can enjoy the rest of the springtime and get some more color to it. And we'll fertilize a little bit more. On a tree like this, if y'all watched my fertilizer video, I didn't want to over fertilize things because we want to keep as much mature branching as possible. And if you over fertilize, they'll tend to revert them back to juvenile growth, which is really, really strong and doesn't look great on an old tree. So basically what I'm going to do here is we're going to take it from here, from this explanation portion of the video. We're going to speed things up a little bit. I'm going to go through the tree and pinch and do a lot of trimming and take off some wire that's starting to cut in. And then I might wire a few things that I think are important, like this shoot might be nice for right here. And there's another couple of little things like that I can wire out. But I'm going to hone this tree in, I'm going to clean it up, and then I'll talk to you guys after we get to that point. All right, so went through and I thinned out the tree pretty significantly here. Just gonna make sure that branch goes back where it was supposed to. You can see the trunk line a lot clearer now. You can see there's a straighter section here, which that's my least favorite part of the tree currently. There is a chance to grow a branch right here. I subconsciously just plugged it off. I was saying that, there's actually a bud right there. I will have to put a like a thumbtack or something. One of the good ways to do this is if I want to branch on a bald cypress, I normally have to remember like this zone is a little blank to me. I would like to have something right here that would be nice. So they have like those sewing pins that have like little colors on the end of them. That would be a nice thing to just poke right here and say, I need a bud there. And if something emerges, don't mess with it. because I just went in there and subconsciously plucked that off of there. And then I went through, and there's a couple of branches. You can kind of see it here. I call this a telephone cord. So what happens is the branch grows really fast, the wire cuts in, and it starts to kind of get that spiral shape to it. It looks like an old school telephone cord. For those who grew up in the 90s and earlier, you would know what that is. If not, then you just have to look up what an old school telephone cord looks like. I know some of our viewers are a little bit younger, so I just have to keep that in mind. And but yeah, that usually gives a little bit of structural integrity, kind of goes away in the branch and makes it really thin and just looks like, doesn't look good. It looks like crap. So we want to stop that from happening. But contrary to popular belief, whenever you see the wire cutting in on your tree, you shouldn't rush in there and just take all the wire off. Because if you do that, especially to this tree, all these branches might hold their shape, but they will actually, most of them will spring back up or just kind of go into an awkward placement where they were before. So I try to keep cypresses, bald cypresses, completely wired as long as possible. If there's cut in on the branches and I see little wire scars here and there, that's fine. They will go away. They'll add character to the branch. But if it gets really bad and you get these big lumpy spiral looking weird branches, yeah, that's going to look like crap, and you'll have to cut the branch all the way off again and rework that branch and regrow it. So yeah, for the most part, I'm pretty happy with the way the tree looks right now. Let me get a... Yeah. It's giving me the vibes that I want, for sure. It has the old, billowy, ancient bald cypress look. The branches are old, they're sagging, they're going downwards. The top kind of still has this little bit of a, we're in this triangle kind of shape. But as we advance this tree and refine it, then this will fill out gradually. And you guys see it does have like that triangle shape to it, because with bald cypresses, they grow so aggressive that I have to go in and thin the top out because it'll overtake the bottom and the bottom will get weak. And then we'll have this big giant plume of growth up here, and then this will never really advance. So we're always fighting the excessive amount of energy in the crowns of these trees. So, like I said, moving forward, this tree will be continued to be pinched and plucked and pruned. This will not be the only time this will be done. Luckily, I didn't defoliate this tree. Not luckily, but like lucky for this tree, I did not defoliate it, because then it would cause it to go into complete overdrive and then grow like a weed. And so just a closing remark on this, if you're going to refine your bald cypresses, make sure you're refining them very similar to how I just did it here. Do not fully defoliate your tree to go in and try to readjust the energy. You're just going to cause it to go into overdrive mode and just go crazy. So this is pretty much this season's work. Like I said, mid-spring. As we get into late spring, we'll be doing this again. And we'll bring this tree back in several times in future videos, just so you guys can see the progression of this. And we have a couple of other trees that I've carved in the past that we will have on our next video. I'll show you guys what that looks like after I've done the carve and how they've grown out since the brutal kind of work that we did on those trees. And I was looking at them, and some of them need readjustments, and I'm gonna have to redo the carving on them because I was doing it for the sake of making a video. But anyway, so if you guys enjoyed this content, please comment, share, and go in and make sure you subscribe to our channel to let us know that you guys like this. And I will make more videos, more informational videos like this for you guys in the future. And make sure to give me some questions to answer on upcoming videos as well. You guys have a great day, and I will see you guys in the next one.